out the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to the finale of the Assetto Corsa. I'm still in yesterday mode. The Apex Online Racing Project Cars 2 Clio Cup. We've had an absolutely astounding few races coming out of this very, very short championship, and we're all culminating in what promises to be an absolutely insane final race. So we're used to seeing the Monza pit lane, but we're not used to seeing this shortened version of the Monza Grand Prix track. So, as WMDR Martin shows just how sideways you can get those Clios as they come round onto the back straight. You can see that cut through that it will form turns 1, 2 and 3 is going to make for a very, very complicated and difficult start to the race for starters, and will absolutely change the makeup of what we consider a normal Monza Grand Prix. 15 minutes of qualifying, and we'll see as well, showing just how sideways you can get these front-wheel drive cars. Brilliant driving from all involved as per the normal. We have a King Kodiak in chat as well, which means that he is not racing. Very unfortunate for us. And for him as well. So, these are going to be very, very quick lap times. We should be looking, if I'm remembering my times correctly, around the mid-50s sections for the majority of the pack. And the championship standings are a very interesting picture as well. Currently sitting at the top of the tables is As Turbo, who is sitting here, coming out on the back straight on his first flying lap, I would suggest. Who with a third in the first race, and from then on out he has scored second in every race so far. Compare that with the second place driver at the moment, who is Van Ommen, who goes fastest now with a 54.5. Compare that with Van Ommen, who started out the series very strongly with a first, third first, and then last time out in France, yes, on that very, very interesting Les Arts track, which I refuse to even try and pronounce. A bit of a catastrophe for him in the feature race, dropping all the way down to 15th, and that 1/15th is enough to drop him into second place by a deficit of 8 points. So, it's all very much worth fighting for now. As we see As Turbo currently sitting third, he's going to be starting behind Van Ommen at the moment. Dropping down to fourth now. A couple of times still not coming in, so looks like some people are having trouble. Luron Les Arts. I'll accept that. Thanks, King. So, it's interesting that Crab, Psycho, Ticklish is out on a lap as well, so he should be coming around soon to set a first time. But interesting that there's two drivers still not leaving the pits. They do want to be putting. Ticklish and his teammate are using the Ferrari strategy of giving each other drag down the two very long straights comparatively on this straight. Fantastic to see this strategy playing out even at this late stage in the championship. We're just keeping an eye on times. 5 minutes gone. Van Ommen currently first with that 54.580. He has been circulating since, but not gone any faster, so that may have been a bit of a dream lap for him. He's now sitting in traffic behind these two teammates of Pickwish Picklewickle and I need to find his teammate now. Royalty. Ah. That explains a lot. So, Royalty sitting 8th. Oh. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 32. Oh, okay. That was an interesting series of events down the back straight. What on earth happened there? Unfortunately, we don't have... Oh, I see. So, someone span in front of Royalty there. And drove them both to the outside of the track. That's really unfortunate. Because these drivers are running in fixed setup. Oh, as Turbo's got down to 2/10. This is going to be so close come the start of the race. Coming around the end of the sector now. Unfortunately, we don't have times. Let's have a look at his speeder coming out of here. So, just flipping up to 5th gear. 190 kilometers of roughly coming across the line. There's another gear to go. Absolutely lovely. Now, where is he picking as his braking point? Start of... It's that concrete on the left, isn't it? Controlling that slide beautifully through turn 1. Through this little cut-through section. This is very narrow through here as well. So the drivers are going to have to be very patient. And they're going to have to be watching everywhere around them as well. Let's see if I can find someone coming down this turn 1. So, let's jump on here with... There we go, Roof. So you can see how tight from that wide start-finish straight. It closes up so much through that inside section. And then you come out onto this back straight as well. So through that cut-through section, they're going to have to be very patient unless the car is... in front is very, very slow or makes a mistake. And even then, if they make a mistake, the walls are so close, they're going to want to be careful coming past, because someone else's accident might become yours. There we go, Crabs had a quali ban. That explains a lot. Which means that Psycho is the last person we're waiting for to set a time. And he will be starting a lap now then. What have we got going on around this midsection then? So we have Clifton in the 63, running the Project Cars livery. He's doing quite well, and we do also have Jogurk as well in the 31 car. Interesting. So Jogurk is in a 31 along with, I think that's Ticklish as well. Yeah. So Ticklish and Jogurk both in the same livery car. That's not going to make life more difficult, is it? Coming around Parabolica now. And Jogurk will come across the line behind 54.815. 1,000th slower than Asturbo, now in 4th with Thiago Pereira, one of the other drivers to shine quite brightly in the later stages of this championship. So Thiago started off, I assume that is Pereira there, in Sal Grosso, yep. So started off towards the mid-pack of the grid, 12th and 15th finishing in Barcelona. And then Suzuka had a bit more luck in the sprint race, getting to 5th and 9th in the feature race, and 4th and 8th out last time out in France. So Pereira really coming on form now. He's going to have a bit of side on contact with the number 5 car. He's trying to get that 0.189 of a second gap to Van Ommen. Ommen not having the pace difference this time out that we have seen in a few of the rounds here. Whether that's his 1 lap pace not quite being on the money to sacrifice for the longer term pace. Bear in mind this is a fixed setup category. Pereira going very, very tight to the pit wall there. Trying to eke out every inch of tarmac. Is not going to go any faster. Van Ommen seems to have had a mistake, drops into the pits and pulls back out again. As Turbo coming down the start-finish straight now. We've got 4 minutes left to go still. Remember, the drivers that have been keeping out this entire time will have fuel burning off, will have tyres wearing down, but they will be lighter. So these times may not be indicative or representative of race times. You can see now as Turbo running at 3.8 litres, not able to change that setup. Whereas Van Ommen, 10 litres. So that will make a difference in these very low powered Clios. As Turbo will have every advantage now. Just feathering the brakes. Using every inch of track and a little bit extra that Monza gives nowadays. Doesn't go straight off into that gravel trap like it used to. You can run wide and you use the boundaries of track limits as your marker. Comes across the line and goes no faster. So it seems like the drivers are not really being able to pull out the times that we're inspecting later into this session. But the gap from first to to 16th. So the entirety of what we'll be expecting from the reverse grid is a second. 0.996 for Gerard Javal is the gap from first to 16th. That's got to be encouraging for those following that Van Ommen car, knowing Pereira goes faster. 0.12 seconds with 2 minutes to go. He's now getting to that point of 3.5 litres or so left. Gaggle of cars giving him some slipstream, but that's also going to potentially mess with his lines as he pulls. I can't quite decide which way to go. That bit of hesitancy might cost him that time. It also might not. We're going to find out momentarily. Still a minute to go. Pereira goes faster by 0.25 of a second, nearly 0.26. These times are getting very, very competitive now. Interesting that Van Ommen is not pulling the times that he has been recently. I wonder if that is due to traffic or whether that is just being unable to stitch a lap together. Coming across the line now. He's burned off a bit of fuel, but we'll only go 99% of the way there with a gap of 0.04 of a second to Pereira in first. Chasing the... I think these are the two correct cars. So, no, Tiglish is out there. So one of them is Joe Gurk. Yep. And the other one will be Royalty. There we go. ...16 seconds, 15. This is going to be, we're approaching driver's last ditch attempt. I don't think Ticklish is going to make it across the line. Ooh, that's a connection problem for Ticklish. Oh dear. Okay. How are we looking? How are we looking? Van Ommen has got onto a lap. So this will be Van Ommen's last lap. He has a car in front who is going to jump offline. Van Ommen will be using the slipstream and grabbing every bit that he possibly can before we come down into the Parabolica. Hopefully, I think there's Royalty there. Yep. Hopefully Royalty doesn't compromise his line too much. But that slipstream, that draft is going to be helping something fierce as they come down across the line. Van Ommen pushing almost. Oh, wow. Royalty across the line. Royalty will go 9th. Van Ommen will stay 2nd for the start of our sprint race. I think Marauder is complete as well. Adam Rake. Yep. And Mr. Zach. So all of our cars out on track are finished. So, starting order for this sprint race, the first of 2 tonight, will be Tiago Pereira starting from pole. Mr. Van Ommen will be starting 2nd, As Turbo 3rd, Joe Goke 4th, Tony Clifton 5th, Smolder 6th, Alan in 7th, Mad Hayes in 8th, Royalty in 9th, Fatworm 10th, Atlas Gerhan in 11th, Marauder in 12th, 13th will be Gerard Javal, 14th Ticklish Picklewickle, 15th will be Jack Game, Mr. Ferret 16th, Tom Curl 17th, 18th will be DH Gamer, Alan Rick in 19th, 20th will be Mr. Zach, WMDR Martin will be starting 21st, and Psycho will be starting 22nd in those are the qualifiers, with Crab bringing up the rear. So no warm-up lap, Apex Online racing style or otherwise tonight. We'll just be going straight into the madness as we jump on board. This is the run down to turn 1. You can see the bright red and white boards at turn 1, urging the drivers to turn right. And this is going to be interesting, shall we say. Absolutely no problem, none of the usual problems that we have with Monza, with that very, very, very tight turn 1 chicane, turn 1 and 2 chicane. But in place of that, we have a very, very tight section where if the drivers get anywhere near out of shape, they are going to be staring at not 1, but 2 walls. The countdown to the final rounds of the Clio Cup are go. A little bit of creep there from whoever was, I think that was Fatworm. A little bit of creep through turn 1, and we've already got some crashing and banging going on. Oh, I think that really was 5 wide going into turn 1. So Chloe's already got her wish. We've got a car turned round. We've got Crab making places. Tom Curl has been turned round in that very tight section. Oh man, Kodiak, you've escaped a good one tonight. So Atlas Gerhan was the car that was turned round in turn 1. Gerard Javal stuck in the very tightest part of this Monza short circuit. As Turbo has gone to the lead, taking both Pereira and Van Ommen. I wish we could have replays so that I could show you that. But coming across the line, As Turbo is now going to be punching the hole for the other drivers to be looking to pass him. Van Ommen is going to look to the inside, and Pereira is going to look to the inside of them as well. As Turbo thinks better of trying to outbrake Van Ommen and is going to have the inside line for turn 3. 20 car pulling back to the lead very briefly. Now, do we see... Yes. So Van Ommen has outdragged As Turbo in a straight line. The narrower corner that As Turbo had to take Oh, this is going to get very messy if those guys keep rubbing up against each other. Pereira to the inside of Van Ommen. As Turbo's gone down to 4th, 3rd, 2nd. The position changes all over the place. And that is what we are looking at. But now Pereira has gotten past Van Ommen. And as Turbo, meanwhile, has got up the inside of Pereira. So back to first again. This is insane. Absolutely mad. 2 wide, 3 wide coming through turn 1, and we're 3 laps in to this race, a bit further back down the grid, and someone is going to massively outbrake themselves. Mr. Zach gets on the brake pedal a little bit too late. Almost makes it work. There's still time for him to... Oh, nope, that's going to be another sideways moment for the Fat Worm, which will gift Mr. Zach the place. We jump back up to the head of the field because we cannot look away from this lead battle. So Joe Girk is now looking around the outside of Pereira, and Mr. Van Ommen meanwhile has dropped to the back of this lead battle, shall we say. Tony Clifton's still following in very, very close attention. But this is the battle for the lead. The first 5 cars are absolutely neck and neck. Pereira takes the lead into turn 1. Asturbo will stay around the outside, possibly losing, to Joe Girk momentarily having to take the wider line, but he will carry more speed onto this back straight. So 2 wide they come out onto the back straight. Asturbo retakes 2nd, and Pereira is going right to the inside, getting right off the racing line so that no one can pick up that drag. Wisely, the following cars draw right back across, and this is the kind of weaving that we're okay with seeing in the racing, that once across the track and back just to break the toe. That absolutely makes sense. Joe Girk and Asturbo make contact, and that's going to push Asturbo wide. Hopefully he doesn't have any or much damage from that incident. Asturbo has Smolder there for backup, I believe. So Revolution boys are looking quite cozy at the moment. I can't see Smolder making it too difficult. There we go. For the 20 car to get around the outside. Tremendous respect as always from these 2 teammates. Meanwhile, at the top of the field, as if that isn't, we still have Pereira in first, Joe Girk in second. Van Ommen is now looking at a 2-car battle. Now, this is something that he could possibly look to attack for. 3 cars fighting out at the head of the field, that's not really something that you want to be looking at. But 2 cars, that's a double draft. That is enough space to go 3 wide. You can go either side, and there will always be space. But does Van Ommen have the pace? Joe Girk and Pereira across the line now. Joe Girk goes to the outside. We'll have the drag and the speed. Pereira defending very well there. But Van Ommen will look up the inside of Joe Girk. Now looking through this tight section. And again, this is not a place you want to be making a mistake. There are 2 walls there ready to greet the front and back of your car. The remain line astern going across the back straight. And Asturbo has reclaimed 4th position for the time being. Joe Girk takes the lead for the first time, being pushed, it seems, by Van Ommen around the outside. Oh, and contact and a spin. That's going to give Van Ommen the lead, and it is going to give the 2nd place back to Asturbo. His most regular finishing place so far. That's a terrible accident, but an accident nonetheless. That's just what happens when you're running so close for so long. So Joe Girk is going to fall to 5th. Clifton, in fact, is going to make it to 2nd. So a good result for Clifton, possibly in the books here. Just having a very quick look through the championship standings, actually. Where is... No, can't find him at a glance. So this is the fight for the lead. It's the entire field. There you go. And somewhere down here, we have Ticklish Picklewickle looking to take a very tight line past WMDR Martin. Martin's going to try and go around the outside, which, as we've seen, is absolutely a strategy you can use here at Parabolica. and very equal performance from both these cars. Oh, we just joined the battle for the lead as Clifton, slightly inexperienced, running at the head of this field, clatters into the side of Asturbo, going sideways under braking. That is a problem. Not a problem. There's a feature of these Clios. It makes driving them always very interesting. So Asturbo regains second place. And now Clifton has a lot of defending to do from, in order, Marauder, who is closest at the moment. Then Alan, who's looking around the outside of Jogurk. Jogurk having lost a place there. From battling for first, not quite having the run of it. Maybe that car's carrying a little bit of damage from the previous incident. A problem on the rear suspension here would be catastrophic for these Clios. 31 car turns into Alan, not quite expecting the car to be there still. And then Tiago Pereira, so those two who had the incident still glued together. We have a look for fourth. Marauder just peeking out. These cars are very, very slow compared to a lot of the machinery that we're used to seeing. So a peek can be taken. Braking is of utmost importance, because that is where you're going to make or lose all of your time. Very briefly, as the camera decides what it's going to do, Asturbo looking at the back of Van Ommen. Clifton's going to go defensive very early under braking. And, sorry, Marauder goes to the inside. Clifton doesn't defend. There we go, I'm getting my cars mixed up. So, wisely Clifton letting Marauder get past. If he thinks he has the pace, then that's something that Clifton is not going to get in the way of. However, onto the back straight with the draft of 3 cars now in front of Clifton. He's going to have a slightly higher speed. He's going to go to the inside through Parabolica 2x2, as we've been seeing this entire race. Absolutely something that can work, but now Marauder will have, you guessed it, a speed advantage coming up across the line. And it's this toing and froing that is going to make this race nail-biting from start to finish. And the amount of throttle time that these drivers are spending is quite mad. Clifton defending this time, or is that even a look at Asturbo in front? He was very, very close. I think that may have been for the defense, as Marauder follows Clifton through for the time being. These lead 4 really are pulling out a bit. Jogurk from, again, fighting for the lead, now with Alan behind. That's just about the first gap that we've got there, really. First meaningful gap, anyway. So we've got a couple of cars just running outside of a second. But then, is this Ticklish? Yeah. No. Yep, Ticklish looking up back up the inside of MDR Martins, so potentially losing that position just in the flow of things. And Smolder will make it back past Crab. Crab doing an absolutely amazing job to get from last on the grid, 23rd, up into 9th, 10th, 11th, whichever, depending on the corner that we're looking at. Halfway up the grid, very well done, very well handled from that slide as well. Trying to put the power down, and the Clio not quite enjoying himself. We've got just under 10 minutes to go. And Asturbo's gonna look. Just getting the mirrors of Van Ommen. I'm sure Van Ommen knows that on a track like this, being in first is not where you want to be until the last lap. But Asturbo too looks to the inside, and now Clifton looking even further to the inside. Could this be Tony Clifton to the lead? He has got that. Oh no, he's just going to break right out of that. So is Van Ommen as well. No one really wanting to attack that first corner. It's almost as if it's got a reputation already. So Asturbo goes to the lead, most confident on the brakes, and that is going to give Van Ommen now the drag that he has been missing this entire time. Just going to take a breather for half a second. Tony Clifton looking to the inside. Could this be Clifton going past Van Ommen? It looks like it is. Yep. Van Ommen saying peace to fighting. Deciding that perhaps discretion is the better part of valor. Clifton now looking to the inside of Asturbo for the lead in that 63 car. And we'll take it across the line. We're about to go 3 wide into turn 1 yet again. Everyone abandoning on their attempts. It seems that the reputation of Monza turn 1 even applies through when you're taking the short course. And we get a very, very, very brief reprieve from the action. I will have a very quick look down the other end of the field. Not that we've got any time, because as soon as we look away, the lead is going to change yet again. Around the final corner, so Marauder now being dropped slightly by this leading pack. And this is what happens when the drivers are running slightly more sensibly. Clifton goes to the inside. Now what are we going to see? Van Ommen goes to the title line yet again. And then we see Clifton on the brakes pushing Asturbo to the outside. Asturbo's... Oh. So Asturbo went to turn in. Marauder was on the inside, but completely sight unseen. There was no reason why Asturbo would ever see him. Just pushes him into the barrier, and I think that was just the game glitching him into the ground slightly. Lost him a lot of speed. So in the space of one start-finish straight, Asturbo has gone from first to third, and with 6 minutes remaining, he's got it all to do again. Clifton really is very, very fast here. I wonder what he ate this morning for breakfast. If you're British, it's going to be that one. Up the inside and across the line, he's going to take the lead into turn 1, leaves Van Ommen high and dry on the outside, which is going to leave a gap open for Asturbo. I don't think it's going to be quite there yet. Nope. Asturbo pulls back into line and is going to have that slipstream from both cars yet again. Notice Clifton doesn't pull to the inside like we've seen from some of the other drivers who are more used to having this level of competition. Just sits on the racing line. He's got confidence in the car. He can just about keep ahead through Parabolica now. Holding it super, super tight. And now this is the defensive line. Not even going out to the racing line, forcing both of his opponents very, very wide on the track. But he will have the inside line. If he can get brave on the brakes, there's still a possibility for him. No, he will lose the lead to Van Ommen now. And frustratingly for Asturbo, no gain for him. So now he's got a 4/10 gap to Van Ommen, his main championship rival, and a car between them. Also worth noting, they're coming up to traffic. Tony Clifton goes to the inside through Parabolica. Van Ommen sees it coming, doesn't turn in at all. He's going to use the high line around this banked corner. Asturbo goes wide again as well, but with a slightly more ideal line, is going to have a much higher overspeed. Can Clifton pull back in? There is just about room, but you wouldn't want to put any car in that space. Clifton goes to the inside, late on the brakes, keeps Van Ommen out wide. Getting tongue twisted on Van Ommen, for goodness sake. And battle becomes rejoined once again as the two championship leaders fight behind the Project Cars 2 liveried Clio in the lead of Clifton. Van Ommen goes to the inside. Clifton will stay online as we saw him do last time around. The two lapped cars in front will be giving the cars in the lead of this race some drafting as The 63 gets pushed very wide. Van Ommen goes very late on the brakes as Turbo up the inside on the ideal line. Clifton slips in behind us Turbo, and Van Ommen is going to have a lot of heat on his neck now. Whoever that is, who is that? That is Royalty. Will try and get out of the way, but they're all trying to use the draft as Turbo takes the lead into turn 1 now. He's not going to get away, he's not going to get a break, but he's got the lead for now. Tony Clifton as well, looking to the inside, and now we see the defensive line from Turbo getting straight off the racing line. Not even attempting to maximise his speed down the straight because he knows there's no point. Clifton's going to look to the inside of Van Ommen. Too wide, as we've seen so many times, and we know that that is just as good a line. Clifton gets the better exit this time around, but will Van Ommen have the pace to go around the outside? Yes, he does. He pulls out. And across the line, who is going to take second place? It is going to be Clifton for the time being. Yep. But while these two are fighting, Turbo can think about pulling a gap. He can dream of having a half-second gap. It's the largest this lead has been since the race started, and we've only got 2 minutes to go. Turbo pulls out of line once again, trying to break that toe. Pulling back quite sharply onto the racing line, but one move off, one move back onto the racing line when no one's coming to attack you. All's fair in that regard. Clifton sitting in the wheel tracks, lights ablaze, trying to distract the leader. But Turbo's still looking for his first win of this season, and with 1 minute 26 to go, we are looking at 2 more laps. 2 more laps, and Van Ommen's looking up the inside as Turbo is going to take the racing line. The 63 and the 59 are going to come together in the braking zone for turn 1. Very, very, very clever driving by Van Ommen there to just piece out of that position and avoid all damage whatsoever. But now Clifton is free to attack Turbo if he can make up that 6/10 gap now. Under the bridge they go. It's so nice having real-time splits. Through Parabolica, and this almost looks like a stable gap. Turbo's going to pull to the inside, keep it super, super tight. Clifton as well, following their wheel tracks, trying to maximise the draft down these long straights, relatively long straights for how long the lap is. And now looking to the inside goes Clifton. He's going to try and go up the inside, but it's never going to work as Turbo has it covered just about, and that's going to put Clifton on the back foot. Van Ommen's having a look. It's never going to happen through there, but maybe if he can carry one extra mile per hour is all you need down this back straight because it's so long. And then pulling into that draft as well is going to... we're getting so desperate, and the two behind come together. Clifton and Van Ommen. Clifton trying to follow in the draft of Turbo, and is going to turn into Van Ommen. I'm not going to say it was bound to happen. I'm not going to say it was bound to happen because it really wasn't, and that was all caused by Turbo getting desperate with trying to break the toe on the last lap of the race. So with Joe Gerk, that accident earlier pushing him down the grid, relatively minor compared to what we saw just now, but with that collision just now between Clifton and Ommen, we are going to see Joe Gerk rise to second at the finish line. Clifton is going to come home in third position. Marauder in fourth, just missing out on a podium there, and Van Ommen, understandably, got to the first corner and didn't. Pereira will come home 6th. 7th will be Martin. Let me get up here. Oh, going to get a proper timing screen this time. Pereira 6th. WMDR Martin will come back in 7th. 8th will be Alan Rake in 9th. 10th will be Ticklish Picklewickle, Mr. Ferret in 11th, Mr. Zack in 12th, 13th Atlas Gerhan, Crab 14th, Fatworm 15th, 16th Giles Javal, 17th Jack Game 88, DH Gamer in 18th, Smolder 19th, Royalty 20th, Psycho in 21st, Mad Haze 22nd, and Tom Kell in 23rd place. Unfortunately for him. That is going to be the end of the sprint race. So, now we have the feature race wherein we reverse the first 16 cars. So, Gerard Javal will be leading away from Fatworm, Crab, Ellis Gerhan, Mr. Zack, Mr. Ferret, and so on. And now, the real chaos. So, I'll put us back to a cover screen for the time being. And what to make of that first race? I'm not sure. I don't think we have time for any interviews in this intermission. Unfortunately, we're trying to get the races turned around slightly quicker tonight. So we will have a very quick configuration change. And get going. There we go. Come back. Cool. That's very unfortunate. Okay, so what do we make of that first race? Incredible action from up and down the grid. Every corner, every meter of the lap. And we've got another 40 minutes, I think, of this now. Yeah. I'm going to have absolutely no voice left at the end of this 40 minutes. And it is all absolutely worth it for this racing. First win for Ast Turbo in this championship. And that means he will extend his lead, especially with that incident in the last corner. He will extend his lead quite significantly from the 8 points that it is at the moment. And there's time for things to get better for him. There's some chat going on in the lobby. It's interesting. There is a lot of salt being thrown around at the moment, and understandably by these gamers. They're out here to have fun, not to be taken off the road. Now. So, yes, we now have the feature race to come. We're going to do an AOR warm-up lap. We're going to resort the reverse grid, and we are going to go for 45 minutes without a mandatory pit stop. Ooh. So who's going to try and stretch it? Are they going to try and stretch it? Or are they just going to go hell for leather? We know what they're going to do. They're going to go hell for leather. These Clios, not like the Clios, demand to be driven. Yeah, we are going to have one heck of a race if it's anything like that sprint race. But we also have to bear in mind that the pit stops may well be a strategy to consider. Don't know if they have quite enough fuel to last the distance. Just getting everyone up and ready. We're missing a driver at the moment. But yeah, moves of the race. I think that the top 4, 5 when they were absolutely astounding. There was some, I wouldn't say questionable driving into turn 1, because trying to keep that many cars from piling into each other at the start of a race is going to be difficult. But most of the drivers held their nerve really well, kept control of their cars, and realised that there was a race to be had that wasn't in the first corner. think we have enough drivers. So, if we have enough drivers, we can get this session started. No qualifying this time. What will happen is, hopefully very quickly, we will find ourselves on the grid and ready to go. And then all the drivers will pull apart, go into that reverse grid order, and then we will have a rolling start. Rolling start's not very hard to control for these Clios. With the pace that they have, slipstream won't be an issue for them. They won't have any problems with traction, really won't have any problems with the brakes. As long as the drivers have kept them up to temperature, we'll be looking at, hopefully, a much more clean turn one this time around. We've lost a driver. I just thought we were about ready to go again. It's really unfortunate. I am going to fill the silence with a bit of that one.
About 30 seconds till we go. Let's go up. Get ready. First gear. Hit button off.
And we are back for 45 minutes of the Monza short circuit here in Italy. No qualifying session for this race, only a manual AOR formation lap, a rolling start, and what will be a very, very close race. So look for, can't even remember who was 16th now. It was that long ago. So 16th, look for Gerard Javal, who will be our driver to lead the pack away. Actually, I'll tell you what we can do. Can't normally do this. But as it's the last round, what we'll see, once the drivers have got their setups, well, they don't really have setups, do they? It's fixed. So once everyone's readied up, it shouldn't take too long. We'll see them split like the Red Sea in front of us, and we will draw to the head of the field. And then park. This does stall the start of the race a bit, unfortunately, but the payoff for it is that we will get 45 minutes of intense racing with those leaders trying to come all the way from 16th in the position to the head of the field. So, Gerard Javal, as the drivers split, Gerard will take to the first position for this feature race. Fatworm will pull up behind, and now they're, because of the length of this lap, they're going to have to be very, very careful with how they go. Yep. And Javal slowing almost to a crawl, and Fatworm slowing even more as Crab, Atlas Gerhern, Mr. Zack, Mr. Ferret, Ticklish Picklewickle, Thiago Pereira still sat on the side. This must be hell for them. Just being sat there waiting. You can see Pereira just twitching on the clutch pedal. He wants to get going so much, but he can't. That's not what we're doing here. Van Ommen to Tony Clifton, side by side as they were last time out. Have a few drivers now. So Ticklish is parked up. Rake is joining the queue. This is going to be such a long queue. Alan joining WMDR Martin with wipers on for some reason. Maybe he's lost the button on his dashboard to turn them off. Thiago Pereira, here we go then. Van Ommen will pull off as well. Tony Clifton. Couple of drivers playing some very key parts in the race last time out. Joe Girk now. As Turbo. And then the rest of the field. We're missing a driver. There should be a... It wasn't Smolder. Oh, King has joined. Excellent. Glad to see that. So King Kodiak has joined. Marauder sitting at the back of the grid for some reason. I wonder why that is. That seems very odd. So they're getting up in 2x2 formation already. They don't need to get into 2x2 until later on down this straight, but it's so short that they may as well get into formation now. And these cars are going to be hating this, parked up all in a row. No tyre warmers, no cooling, no heating available at all. Javal is going to lead them away very slow. You can see the Clio in, I think, 3rd place. Having to weave so slowly because they are pulling away at such a crawl. This is going to be a very, very interesting start to the race when we get going. The only driver at the moment I can see without headlights on, at least in the top 16 or so, is the leader, Gerard Javal. So, few drivers here choosing to take the glary option, which is fine. We'll work with that. That's not a problem. Coming down into the parabolica for probably the slowest pace that we will see all race. Fatworm having trouble maintaining his pace with how slow Gerard is going. Now that is an interesting sight. 2 by 2 they come around the parabolica, this train of Clio. And someone who we will be watching from the back of the grid is King Kodiak and Marauder, both with pace. Don't know why Marauder is back there, but we will find out post-race. Coming up to the line now, and Gerard goes... Oh, that was a false start. That was really unfortunate, but Gerard goes now. Gets a bad start with that previous jump. Fatworm's going to drop to 3rd. Crab gets a good start. Someone goes very wide. Yep, and we've got car sideways again across the track. The track is blocked at the moment, and now the Clios have to try and pick their way through as Atlas Gerhan is demoted to the back of the grid. Has to do a 3-point turn with just how tight that track is. Onto the back straight for the first time. And Crab is now your leader. Atlas Gerhan, sorry. Gerard dropped to 2nd only, despite that very, very poor start. Seemed everyone else struggled as well. Zach is going to go very wide through the parabolica. Now the gap at the front is going to be... What would that be? That's half a second. So the gap between 1st and 2nd is larger than we had at any reasonable point in the sprint race. This is interesting. This is very interesting because it shows that when out in fresh air, Crab and Gerard do have some pace underneath their wheels. Just not able to show it while they're in traffic. Van Ommen is in the pits. Pitting for damage. Atlas Gerhan as well, unsurprisingly, in the pits as well. So it was Van Ommen in the 59 that ran into Atlas Gerhan in that first corner incident, obviously unsighted in the traffic, and the seas would have parted, and that's all he saw was car. Damage repaired, 23rd. He must be feeling so despondent right now, but he's got to keep his hopes up. That was only one incident. There is still time, and now Gerard is going for that lead once again. Looking to the inside, Crab sticking it round the outside. They come to blows. This is going to be not quite as refined as the racing we were seeing in the sprint race, unfortunately. That gap back out to 0.4 of a second. Meanwhile, WMDR Martin, oh, what is going on there? That will be Alan. Breaking formation, trying to get out of the racing line to break the slipstream already. And WMDR Martin going up the inside of Clifton, or maybe that was Clifton. That is Clifton going around the outside of WMDR Martin. Martin just about being able to defend for the time being, but coming across the line, we have a beautiful camera here where we will see who has the lead. They come door mirror to door mirror, side by side, and it was WMDR Martin that took it by, I dread to think, they're side by side coming into turn 1. Now this is the kind of driving that we're here to see from the Clios. Not a lot that Martin could do there with the corner coming to Clifton on the outside through turn 1. We're coming down the back straight. A slight weave, but that's the kind of thing we like. We like that nice predictable movement, none of that sharp going backwards and forwards, which arguably from last race out caused the crash between Van Ommen and was it Jogak? No, it wasn't Jogak. Four wide across the track now. Half on the track. Across the line we come, and soon to be 5 wide with, who is that? That is Fatworm, taking a massive dive up the inside of Ticklish Picklewickle. Looking for 7th. That was a fantastic manoeuvre from Fatworm. Using the draft of all 3 of the cars there, making it 4 wide in the end. Breaking through the gap between 2 of them to get up the inside of Ticklish Picklewickle through turn 1. Is not going to hold it. No, he's going to hold it from Ticklish. But now jumps up the inside, looking for the pass on Alan. Meanwhile, Ticklish behind is struggling once again, 3 wide. And it is 3 wide as we have a gaggle of 6 cars, all fighting over 8th position. And there's gonna be contact for the 62, I believe that was... it wasn't Fatworm, it may have been Jogurk, but it's very difficult to tell from the livery, especially from this distance. A single stream for what I think is the first time in either of these 2 races. And even then, Jogurk having to... Not Jogurk, Alan. This camera tracking is fun. Yep, it is Alan in the 4 car. And then Asturbo in 10th. Not a problem at the moment for the championship leader, as he will... Yep, Javal has made it up to the lead again. Now who's that yellow car that's in front? Van Ommen's going around the last part of the track now. It's not Marauder. That's interesting. What car are they coming up to right now? Javal has got again a half-second lead over Crab, first to second. It must be. It's not Smolder. So Smolder's already been lapped. How far back are we looking here? Through turn 1, Gerard's going to go defensive. And that's going to compromise his line on the exit. But Crab's got nothing, no answer for him there. What is that yellow car? I wish I had the difference. And now here we go, down the back straight, in the slipstream. Crab is going to go to the inside, through Parabolic, 16 pushes in, there may have been the slide. There is a rub, there's a massive rub as the 2 come together. The joy of being front wheel drive is that they can save it, but no, and Gerard goes into the wall. Crab just about survives. I'm not going to pass judgment on that one. That was a bit of a heartbreaking incident for both drivers there. But we've seen it before, we've seen it in the sprint race, and that is the kind of thing that can happen through Parabolica. Now looking for the next challenger. Oh, so Crab has got a time penalty now. That's interesting. A 30-second penalty for Crab. Oh my goodness, what on earth has caused that? Crab has taken a 30-second time penalty for track limits. That is incredible. That is incredible. That is incredible. That has put That has put Crab entirely out of any kind of contention, and now he pits as well. And we'll see Pereira in the pits too. 30 seconds. So as it stood, that would have put him 17th, promoting Van Ommen to 16th. And in the points, now looking back on track, we have Clifton now taking the lead, with Mr. Zach right behind. Where is our championship leader? Our championship leader is all the way up to 4th. And challenging WMDR Martin now. Will be soon. This is going to be a fascinating race as it unfolds. As with all of these drivers starting to pit. The pit stops are so long that you're going to be in lap traffic. So at some point, if the leader stays out for long enough, then he will have a lap on the entire field before he needs to pit. That's what we're looking at here. A very interesting turn of events. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Clifton is not going to stay out that long. I don't think any of the drivers are going to stay out that long. But it could happen. That's what's important. It could happen. As Turbo now onto the back of WMDR Martin properly. Possibly having some trouble getting past that lap car. He's going to dug to the inside. Don't know if that was a fake or if it was a bit of oversteer, which under throttle is very rare in these Clios. That would have been a very interesting glitch if it was. Marauder taking a time penalty as well. Now this is interesting. Marauder's only 1 second. 30 seconds for Crab there. It doesn't matter where he is on the grid at this point. He is not going to be having a good finish. All eyes on the championship leader then, as well as Van Ommen. Van Ommen up to 14th in front of the pitters. But we need to see how long he can make that Clio last with the damage that he took in turn 1. As Turbo pits from 4th position, obviously being held up a little bit too much behind WMDR Martin. Was not happy with where the car was. He's going to pit and try and use the undercut of having fresh hot tyres to get past him long term. 28 minutes to go. And King Kodiak in the pits as well. Alongside, yeah, As Turbo's already gone. Come on, King. Come on, King. There we go. Only Clifton has taken a time penalty as well. What is going on with these penalties? Only a second. That's all right. That's fine. So King currently done an 18th, but that will go up. He's made his pit stop. He's had his Joker lap. He's taken that penalty, not penalty, but that time penalty on track. Full tank of fuel. Not quite a full tank of fuel. Unless that's a very small fuel tank in these Clios, that would explain a lot. Hey, it is. Royalty in the pits now. Potentially a front runner in the sprint race. A lot of potential from that number 32. Still maybe not quite seeing the full pace there on track. Tom Curl just sitting behind Marauder at the moment. No need to overtake, just sit within a second and you'll have that 8th place. Depends on the pace of the relative cars. On the main straight, however, Ticklish Picklewickle defending for all he's worth from Mr. Ferret. passing a lapped car. And at the same time, has Alan just 3/10 in front. Get the back end sliding so that you can nail the throttle. Where is Javal now that he has assumedly pitted? Oh, he's retired. There we go. He has completely retired. That's unfortunate. These gaps are looking a little bit... Now here is a fight for you. Van Ommen and Asturbo are together on track. So, however this has occurred, whoever has prayed to whichever racing gods... Wait, what? No. They're not together on track. There we go. It's a massive gap there. Sorry. But they are in the same positions as they were in the sprint race. Sorry, I was reading the timings wrong there. That was Psycho jumping out of the way of the championship contender. It's a shame Alan Rake has now taken a penalty for track limits. What on earth? How are they getting these track limits? How was it so clean last time out and now they're getting all the penalties? On the longer race. You can't afford that, guys. Tom Kell looking at the back of Marauder. Marauder dropping down to 8th with having made a pit stop, I would assume. Looking to the outside, but Marauder has the inside covered. That is going to cause him speed problems through this centre section. And possibly out onto the back straight as well, but the 29 goes tight. Maybe that's where they're getting it. Trying to take that entry onto the back straight too tight and earning themselves penalties that way. Side by side for third position overall. 3 cars wide. We have WMDL Martin in that fiery coloured Clio. We have Alan just been dislodged by Ticklish Picklewickle. Briefly, momentarily. Until Alan gets the drag of both of those Clios. And then we'll be looking once again at 3 wide on the start-finish line. Ticklish looking just a little peek to the inside through Parabolica. Is going to hold that title line that we know works. But there is a car in front which is going to be a lapped car. Going very sideways. Who on earth was that going very sideways into... Oh, that was Kodiak. No wonder. He's giving us a show, that's what he's doing. Ooh. Ticklish looking up the inside. And King getting out of the way, as he should do. As I say, he can now use those cars for a draft. And it's Parabolica again. The gap just extending from King. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That was almost very messy. King, being the better driver, knew that he was not in this fight. And who was that? That was Fat One, wasn't it? Nope. Alan drops into the pits, leaving WMDR Martin and Ticklish to fight it out for third place at the moment. Meanwhile, Pereira and Crab looking to close up on Asturbo at the moment. Now Pereira is a car that I expected to see making gains up the field. Crab not quite so much, but then he's pitted with that damage earlier. Meanwhile, just to really give you a flavour of how competitive this race is, this is over 19th, 20th, 21st and 22nd. Two of these drivers at least have time penalties that they will serve come the end of the race. And they're still going side by side into turn 1. The 5 car goes way too tight. Clips the inside wall. Will lose a position. And that is Jack Game taking Alan Rake's 18th away from him. I think that was DH Gamer. No, it wasn't DH Gamer. Purple. No, it's not that one. Okay. There we go. So, Mr. Zach into the pits. Ticklish and WMDR Martin now fighting out over second position with King Kodiak behind. Ticklish is going to go around the outside. That's the wrong way to do it, but comes back to you through the switchback through here, and that wide line will also earn you more speed onto the back straight if you have the opportunity to take it. Ticklish goes wider, narrowing his line. The throttle goes down sooner. That will give him half a mile per hour. The car being in front without... Whoa! The car being in front without another car to drag off will give him another half mile per hour, but coming down to the Parabolica again, sideways under braking for Ticklish. As yes, I did see that car going crazy in the background. Who that was, I don't know. We were looking at a much more interesting race. That was DH Gamer. Exploding by the looks of it at the front of his car. Yep, massive kick of oversteer, locking up into the brakes. Now here's an interesting one. As Turbo, 6th position. Having made a pit stop, is looking okay. Van Ommen in 4th. Still quite a way up the road. But does Van Ommen have the fuel to go to the end? 21 laps there at the moment, plays 31. For As Turbo, 31.9 specifically, so we'll keep a very quick track of how much fuel is being used. Clifton pits finally, and this should be, hopefully, a reasonably quick stop. 3rd place he drops to. Oh, Ticklish in 1st, in the lead for a brief second. WMDR Martin is defensive, very defensive, broke very early through turn 1. King is going to have an opportunity up the inside of Ticklish there. And Van Ommen now going to 3rd position, which means that as Clifton has only gone down as far as 4th. Awesome. Brilliant pace from Clifton there. But does Van Ommen have the pace? We have to ask that question. Speaking of, As Turbo 30.8, so we're about a litre a lap, roughly speaking. WMDR Martin, Ticklish into the pits at the same time, covering each other off. Not interesting tactics. If I were Ticklish, I would have stayed out another lap rather than being in the pits at the same time. But this will momentarily promote Van Ommen to the lead of the race, with As Turbo currently sitting quite a way behind now in a mere 5th position at the moment. Oh no, here we go. That is actually a battle for position. Okay, that is actually a battle for position. And Crab, it looks like, yeah, Crab trying to seemingly push Asturbo into the wall from whatever that position was. That was really strange. You can't defend and cover when there's a car already beside you. That was really odd. But keep an eye on this battle now, as Pereira has taken advantage of the slow Asturbo and is going to look at the back end of Crab, wanting to take away that third position. Asturbo is now probably desperate for every position that he can possibly get. As Pereira looks to the inside, Crab's going to go wide. This is now going to slow both of them up coming through this midsection. That's going to play into the hands of Asturbo, as we've seen before, being able to run his line back out onto the back straight. And Asturbo goes to the inside very early, looking at those split times. It's closing, that's it. And Asturbo being super defensive, pulling right to the inside of the track and braking early. He does not want to risk this 5th place whatsoever. The points may not be what he wants. Well, the points may not be as many as he wants, but the points are enough. So Van Ommen may just about have enough fuel to get to the end of the race. Possibly. How is he? 17 laps, 15 minutes. Oh, that's going to be close. That is going to be so tight. Pereira has made it past. Through turn 1, under braking. Not a lot really you can do after having a car drag you up the start-finish straight for so long. And now Pereira will have eyes on Clifton. 3 seconds up the road. That isn't insurmountable, especially with the lap traffic playing a role. But now Asturbo. Oh, Crab looking up the inside, and Pereira having the sense to turn out of that apex. Different to what we saw from Crab a few laps earlier. I'm sure Asturbo is still ruining that corner. Right to the inside goes Pereira. Again, trying to break that tone. This is where it's going to get interesting, because this is part of the track where they don't use very often. So there are going to be marbles out there which the tyres will pick up. Into Parabolica, the 25 stays wide. Runs right off the track there. Wow, just a single wheel left. But that hopefully will mean there will be an extra couple of miles per hour. And now they're side by side. And Asturbo is going to make it 3 wide come turn 1. Unless he really backs out of it, which he does. He wants nothing to do with that. He's already had interaction with Crab this race. And so Crab trying to go defensive. Never going to work through there. And Pereira is looking. He is hunting. Jump on the roof. And this is the gap from 3rd to 4th. As we see it, the slipstream starts to take effect. And pulling out will be Pereira side by side coming down into the braking zone. Pereira gets the place. Runs very wide. And Crab is going to come back underneath him, and now Asturbo is going to come under as well. So, 4th position now for the number 20 car. And this is going to get even more exhausting. Looking slightly further down the grid while these are on the straight, that is Rake looking to put a position on Jack Game. That's as much time as we possibly have down that back straight. 20, very nice, neat and tidy. Pereira sliding all over behind. And now the hunt is very much on. Crab must feel like a literal crab. The trap awaits. It only seems that Asturbo needs to spring. It looks to the inside, stays there, side by side, into Parabolica. 193 is going to stay wide. Asturbo has a brilliant, brilliant stop on the brakes. And will climb to third position. Temporarily, perhaps, as Pereira looks up the inside. Down this straight, there's not a lot really you can do. 3 wide, they come across the start-finish line. Asturbo will claim it, but immediately loses that down to 4th. As Pereira goes way too tight, clips either the wall or the curb in a big way, goes up onto 2 wheels. Not quite sure this simulation is built for that. Asturbo now coming down the back straight. Crab giving up and setting back into the slipstream. Have a nice weave backwards and forwards, and Crab stays centre of the road, looking to do what Pereira did the lap before. Asturbo again saw it coming. Will take a nice wide comfortable line and know that there is another 10 minutes left to go. There's still time for this. All of this fighting is not helping them catch up to Clifton. Clifton has a 1 second penalty, so he's not going to affect this. But Crab's not even in this fight. I just realised. With that 30-second penalty, he is 17th still. So this fight is essentially, Crab is just a chicane at this point. Yeah, 30 seconds will drop him to the bottom of the grid. Pereira goes defensive. Washes out wide again as he has before. Gets it back to the inside now, so that Crab can't pull up the inside. Asturbo going a completely different line this time, trying not to get behind the draft, but to use the correct racing line instead. Pereira is going defending to the inside, Crab to the outside. They'll go side by side through this tight section. Pereira's got the inside onto the back straight, but both of them are going to suffer from a bit of retardation in their top speed, which is again is going to hand some pace to Asturbo here. Side by side, Crab around the outside at the moment. Pereira looking up the inside, just the slightest gain under the brakes. Pereira a demon on the brakes. A visible gap between when they both stepped on the brake pedal, the quiet pedal? Yeah. Pays for it on the start-finish straight. The 2 rub, door handle to door handle. And Asturbo is just watching this with us along for the ride as well. Just let's stay on board with him for a proper lap. So Pereira outbrakes. Crab outbrakes Pereira for this time round. Asturbo just watching on patiently. Not seemingly able, whether he's not doing it anything or whether he's staying out of this on purpose. You could well believe that that's going to be happening as Pereira goes up the inside again. Both equal on brakes this time. Sideways goes Pereira into the Parabolica. That will need some correction, but manages to keep a bit of an advantage this time, as Crab has to pull back into the slipstream. Goes wide now, so this is going to be on the racing line. Crab is going to have the advantage under braking, potentially able to brake a bit later, but Pereira is so good under brakes. Even with a kick of oversteer, he still manages to avoid most contact with Crab. Crab goes very wide. Asturbo too follows him into the dirt. And now Joe Girk is looking racy as well. Oh my goodness. Joe Girk and WMDR Martin both looking to join this fight as well. Asturbo, it seems, not quite able to keep up the pace that he was before. But 5th place would do it. I'm pretty sure 5th place would do it. that would keep the points the same. Because of the collision that Van Ommen had last time round. But up the head of the field, now I've not devoted much time to them because Mr. Van Ommen has just walked away with the battle that third to now sixth are having. Van Ommen is walking away, Clifton is walking away, they're all slowing each other up and not able to make any progress onto the leading pair. We have lost another driver as well, unfortunately. Oh, Alan Rake. Alan Rake retired, unfortunately. Back to this battle for third. As we have battles up and down the field, but this is by far and away the closest and most important. Pereira breaks on the racing line, gets the corner, the apex of the corner just in time. Crab having to lock up the brakes to avoid contact. And now As Turbo has Jogurk on his bumper as the scenery falls silent for a moment. These tiny Clios putting out so little noise that you just can't hear them from the other end of the straight. It's almost peaceful. Almost. It's As Turbo that has the slightly better speed coming onto the straight. Staying on the racing line. Crab is going to punch the 25 car and have a collision in the process. And that's what happened, boys, when you get greedy. And there is... what on earth is going on there? Oh my god. Okay, fine. Damage for Alan as well. Who is that that's parked on the inside? So Crab came off, I think, worse from that. That will be... nope. Nope. Oh, okay, it was a slower car, unfortunately. That King that's... King's going slowly, unfortunately. Okay, so now... this is ridiculous. After that collision in turn 1, this means that As Turbo is now in third position. On the podium. And with a very real chance here of winning the Clio Cup. If Jogurk has anything to say about it, he will. But what they need to do right now with 4 minutes remaining is see how much pace they have over Clifton. A very, very brief reprieve in the action as far as the podium positions are concerned. But a train of 4 cars following behind. Actually, how many of these are even in this battle? So, WMDL Martin behind Jogurk has a 6/10 gap back to Mr. Zach, who is the next car in that train. Back marker pulling out the way and punting Mr. Zach into the outside wall. Number 5 car, whoever that was. Oh my goodness, it's all going mad yet again. Tiago Pereira having a mare as well in turn 1. Whether he was taking evasive action or whether he was just struggling with the car. Will drop back another few positions behind Crab. So, battle rejoined, it seems, for the pair who were battling for third position. Meanwhile, on the start-finish straight, Jogurk's going for it. Comes out of the slipstream across the line. We get a beautiful view across the start-finish line there, which is when the timing will be taken, as Turbo has it by a whisper, but Jogurk takes it into turn 1. Will run wide, try and pull it back to the inside. but the 20 car is there, so you can't turn in on that. Coming through onto the back straight now. AS Turbo has the advantage with the slipstream of the car in front. He's just keeping an eye out to see what's going on in front. There's lap traffic coming up, and neither of these two will want to get taken out or otherwise affected by these slower cars. Well, saying that, yeah, that is Fat Worm. Yeah. So, not the slowest. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Coming down into turn 1. Lock up from Fat Worm. He will know he's got the leaders pressing on him. Jogak rubbing up against the wall, trying to get as tight a line as he possibly can. Who says they don't use every inch of the track and a bit more? Out onto the back straight now. AS Turbo not quite looking to have the straight line speed that Jogak has. But with 41 seconds remaining, here we go. This is going to be our last lap, I think. So, across the line now. AS Turbo. The gap is 0.3 of a second. Under braking, Jogak broke very early there. Made sure he wanted to get into that apex for the last time under racing conditions. Actually, might not be. We'll have a quick look. We'll get a warning anyway. So, if we don't see a race finished in the next couple of seconds, then there will be another lap. But Van Almen does have a lot of time. Nope. That will be... Oh! Race finished! There we go. Excellent. So Van Almen will take home the last race victory of the Clio Cup. Although no one's told him that yet. There we go. Nice bit of drifting. You can't really do donuts with these. And Clifton will come home in a very well-earned second. Brilliant driving from start to finish. Reliable, consistent, stayed out of trouble. Jogak will hold on to the final podium position to the line with AS Turbo in 4th position. WMDR Martin throwing it at the scenery. A very good 5th position for him. And Alan 2 will get the car massively sideways going into turn 1. Very nice display of what these Clios can do. Mr. Zach will come home a forlorn 7th, unfortunately. And as we come out of there, Tiago Pereira will be frustrated in 8th position. Royal T in 9th. 10th will be Ticklish Picklewickle Jack Game in 11th. Smolder in 12th. Mr. Ferret in 13th. Crab will come home a lowly 14th with that 31-second penalty in the end. Marauder will come home in 15th. Fatworm 16th. King Kodiak 17th. Psycho 18th. Tomkel 29th. 29 in 19th. Getting all my numbers mixed up. 20th will be Mad Haze. DH Gamer in 21st. And Atlas Gearhan retired for some reason. So, a interesting couple of races. We are going to bring WMDR Martin into the oh, sorry man. We're going to bring WMDR Martin into the combox first. So a little birdie told me, I think it may have been you in the lobby chat, 12 places in the first lap?
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so how? Tell me how. Give me an insight into that magic.
1 second, sorry.
Alright.
Yeah, so had the worst qualifying I think I've ever had in AOR. Started P21. Then there was a little bit of chaos into turn 1, which was immediately like I think 8 places or so.
Yep.
And then there were maybe 1 or 2 more incidents still in the first lap, and that just gave me another couple positions.
Oh, fantastic! So it was literally staying out of trouble, using your head rather than your right foot to solve the problems.
My right finger in my case.
Oh, damn it, your controller. God damn it. And 5th place in the second race.
Yeah, I've honestly got no words. This makes up for my season, to be fair.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic to hear. And what a way to close out. What do you think of this short Monza circuit? It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, for some reason, especially in the first race, I was suffering from a lot of understeer, which is probably why I qualified 21st as well. And then, like, at some point, it just kind of disappeared, and I was able to drive.
Oh, brilliant. Cool.
Yeah, as for avoiding the incidents, it's like the entire field is just nails, and I'm just tiptoeing around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you did a brilliant job of avoiding all the nails. There was incidents all around you tonight. Believe me, I think I've caught most of them on the stream. So, very much worth.
And the nice thing for this race too is I didn't just avoid all the carnage. I actually had a lot of huge battles as well because I was fairly slow compared to the top guys, so I was forming a couple of trains.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had people to drive with as well. It's always.
Yeah, definitely was loads of fun.
Always better with friends. Well, what a way to finish out the season. What are you going to be doing next with AOR then?
Not sure, to be fair. I'm probably going to take a short little break because a friend of mine wants to get me into iRace.
Oh, you don't want to do that. Come back to Project Cars 2 when we've got the GT3 season up and running.
Yeah, I'll be back for season 15.
Brilliant. Congratulations on your finishes tonight. Congratulations on your performance with this as well. And hopefully I'll be speaking to you soon from the grid, actually, when the new GT3 season comes out.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. See you later. Next into the box, we will grab Royalty, a race. Oh, grief. Did you finish the sprint race?
Well, after a terrible first corner pinball incident, I managed to finish 20th.
Ah, right, good, you did, cool. No, that's fine then. No, it just off the top of my, I had this weird feeling in my brain that you retired, but no, that's absolutely fine. And you got to 9th in the second race. Tell me the story of your evening.
Well, it was one epic battle after another, with King Kodiak and myself going side by side through those first 2-3 corners. Ticklish as well. These guys just give you so much space, and
Yep.
I was actually surprised that I could just keep them. We knew exactly where each other were, and there was more than enough space for each of us.
Yeah, this is what happens when you drive with like AOR like coordinators and that. They've got so many so much experience driving and racing. They have like this interesting knack of knowing where everyone is and just giving you space and making the racing enjoyable.
Yeah, we were even being lapped by a back marker, King Kodiak and I, and we were still giving each other more than enough space.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's fantastic. That's great to hear. I'm glad you had a good time out on this peculiar Monza circuit as well.
I upheld my deal, top 10 finish.
We'll take that. That's a good way to close out the season.
It would have been better if my first race had turned out more the way I wanted it to turn out, but I'll take what I get.
Absolutely. As long as you enjoyed the race, that's what matters.
I loved every second of it.
Excellent, and that is the takeaway from this. So you can go home, you can go to bed with a smile across your face because you had some brilliant racing.
That you can say again.
Brilliant, awesome. So hopefully next time I speak to you will be a race going slightly more your way. But congratulations on completing the season and the races, and I'm over the moon. You had a great time driving as well.
Thanks for the commentary. It's always epic listening to you afterwards.
I'm glad that you think so. Thank you, mate. It's a pleasure watching you guys drive. It really is. It's so nice being able to be, let's say, honest with my opinions as well. It could be very politically difficult to do so otherwise. But there you go. Right, I have a champion to speak to. So I will let you go. Thank you very much for dropping in as well.
Thank you again.
Nah, see you in a bit, man. Okay, as I say, we have a champion to speak to. Congratulations, Asturbo. You are the Clio Cup champion. in Project Cars 2. And I can't hear you. Oh, you are. Your microphone. Your microphone is celebrating as much as you are. Oh, wow. That is some network. Yes. Your voice is not happy. If you oh my, here we. Let me give you 5 minutes. I'll say try restart.
Because
1 second, Asturbo. Try restarting Discord. I'll drag you back in a minute. All right. All right.
yes,
Oh, good grief! Wow, that wasn't fun. Okay, who do we drag in next? We've spoken to Martin. We haven't spoken to Tom Kell yet. Tom Kell, 29. We just had some issues there trying to get through to Asturbo. Give me the story of your evening. Give me the story of your evening.
Yeah, interesting. Had a fairly decent qualifying. I think I was like 16, 17, something like that, which I was quite pleased with. First race was a bit of a nightmare. I think there was a bit of carnage in T1, and some guy had spun it, and I had nowhere to go other than straight into him.
Yep.
So got quite a lot of damage there. Thought I'd pit because I was way off the pace. And then that put me a lap down against pretty much the whole field. So I was having a little lonely race by myself for most of that one. But second race was pretty good. I decided to sort of play the long game and pit like after about 20 laps or so. So that put me into sixth at one point.
Yep.
Pitted, came out 16th, which I thought, yeah, fair enough, pretty good. And then had a good scrap with King Kodiak towards the end, which got a bit tasty.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I think there was 2 incidents where in the first corner there was, I think the first time there was a guy who was rejoining the track and
Yep.
took both of us out.
Oh. Oh, really?
Yeah. But luckily I didn't get too much damage from that. And then the second time, I think Kodiak thought I was going deep in the corner, but I wasn't. So he sort of clipped my rear end a little bit, but nothing too bad. So
That's all right then.
yeah.
So tell me from experience, because I know what you're going to say. But so being clipped from the back end, it's from a community that's primarily GT focused, and there's a lot of GT3 racing and that sort of thing going on. What's the difference when someone clips you from behind between these Clios and the bigger rear-wheel drive cars that we're used to seeing in races?
Well, yeah, the Clios are very slidey. They tend to oversteer quite a lot. Whereas obviously GT's been rear-wheel drive, I tend to find they understeer a bit more. So yeah, it's interesting, but the slightest tap, because they're obviously a lot lighter than GTs, then they just spin right around.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's what I find anyway. I mean, I don't know whether
No, it's
other
just
people have that issue.
the way that most front-wheel drive cars handle. You can very much like plant the throttle and save being punted up the back end. There's a very famous clip of Jason Plato going 90 degrees to the track round Paddock Hill Bend after getting
Nice.
nerfed up the back end. Yeah, no, it's yeah, the front-wheel drive cars generally you kind of plant the throttle and aim it in the direction you want to go, and it'll take you there eventually.
Yeah, true. I think it depends on sort of the corner or how much contact you do get.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's very slidey, but fun nonetheless. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean this is my first proper league, and yeah, it was brilliant.
Excellent. Excellent. You come back for more?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Well, hopefully we'll see you next time out.
Yeah. Cheers, Ike.
See ya. Right, we are going to have another quick go with Asturbo. Hey there, Asturbo. You're back.
yes,
I think I think in your celebration you may have broken your microphone. I can't hear you now. No, this is
No.
this is really annoying.
You.
Oh my, you are. I'm so sorry, dude. You're so roboty.
No.
Nope.
It's not the case. Sorry, but
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. That wasn't even me. Okay, fine. Let us jump back into some of the other interviews that we've got waiting. Ticklish first. Ticklish, tell me the story of your evening. 10th place in the feature race and in the sprint race.
Sprint race was also 10.
Oh, brilliant. So Mr. Consistent.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't really say that because I was doing quite well up until the point of pitting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was fighting with Martin. I think we were like third and fourth. Of
Yeah.
course, we hadn't pitted yet. But once we pitted, I had actually from the from from the information point or from the information lab, I had some damage because
Yeah.
someone rear-ended me. It wasn't really too bad. It was 5 rear damage.
Yep.
So and I mean, I was kind of on the fence if I wanted to repair it or not because I didn't really feel like it did much to my pace. But I thought just to be safe, I should repair it. But that was a complete mistake
Oh, right.
because the racing, especially on this track, is so close. And I think it added like the repair added like 5 or 6 seconds to my overall pit time, and I went so much down the field. You can see like Martin, he ended 5th and I ended 10th, so I basically effectively lost 4 positions
Oh,
for choosing to repair that damage.
Yep.
Yeah, and then to make it even worse, when I then was on my second stint for a couple of laps, I had very very big screen freeze
Ooh.
in the middle of Parabolica, which sent me into the wall on the right hand side.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Which gave me 7 front damage, and it seems that the front damage is much worse than the rear damage.
Yeah.
I was down 3 kilometers per hour on the straight on the top speed. That made me 1 second slower per lap.
That's crazy. It's
Yes.
unsurprising, bearing in mind it's Monza, but that's a very significant. So in reality, you did well to hold on to 10th.
Yeah, I mean, I was pushing like hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really feel that. I mean, handling wise, it was pretty much the same as no damage.
Yeah.
But it was just that tiny bit slower on the straights, and it just made so much difference. Obviously, because this track is basically 90% straights.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
to lose those 3 kilometers per hour on the top end is a huge loss.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the track basically being 2 long straights with a couple of squiggly bits in the middle, the overtaking, the racing up and down the field was immense. In reality, the reverse grid almost did a disservice to how close the action really was, because in the first race it was touch and go up and down the grid. I don't think there was a single gap that was larger than a second.
No, I mean, that was basically what I expected from this. But I mean, it was great. I think there was a little bit of some questionable moves in the first race. I mean, from my point of view, I didn't really experience anything in the second race.
Yeah.
But definitely in the first race, there was some, especially turn 1, there was some
Yeah.
questionable moves.
I think the second race was actually, there were more egregious, because the turn 1 you could, in my opinion, I will put that before it. The turn 1 incidents you could put down to not quite knowing where the other people are, or it's a genuine accident where there were some very silly mistakes made in the second race.
Well, I mean, at least from my point of view, I don't know who it was, but there was one sending it quite hard down the inside of me, and then hitting some people in front of me.
Oh,
And that's just, that's just, you gotta anticipate, but that people break early because they always do on that one.
yeah, of course.
But I mean, like once the race had gone on for like 2 or 3 laps, it has sort of settled in, and it wasn't as bad.
Yeah,
And that's always the case, of course. But
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, and I also I also think just because of the way this track is so simple, like if you get a bad exit and you're so close with, like, let's say 3 or 4 people, you could easily lose those 4 positions.
Yeah.
Because you get just like a tiny worse exit than the other guys, because the straight is so long, and then they sort of have the upper hand for that whole straight, and you're just sitting there. You can't do anything about it.
Yep. There's almost no point in defending. You just let it happen because you're going to have the slipstream through the next straight.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually found that, especially in the parabolica, and also, I mean, basically the turns that was leaning onto the straights,
Mhm.
to brake earlier and then get a better exit, sort of turn in early and get the power on. That was much better, because if then a guy in front overshoot it a bit, then I mean, it's just an easy overtake. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that was pretty much the prime strategy for this race, I feel.
Yeah. No. It really did come through. It was brilliant. It was brilliant to watch the fights that you were in as well, because there were some very contrasting driving styles, and yours was by far and away the neatest. Great to watch.
I think especially in this car, because it's so low powered,
Mhm.
it's all about keeping the momentum, especially through parabolica. You don't want to spin, or rather, you don't want to go sideways.
Yep.
Just a tiny bit sideways, and you might get a slower exit, and then you're basically a sit and duck for the straight. So it was all about keeping the momentum for this race. So I think that the cleanest sort of, if I can say that, the cleanest driving style was also the best one for this race.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. You could see the people who had kind of clocked onto that because they were a good 1 to 2 miles per hour out of the corners, and that translates with a bit of slipstream to 5 to 6 come the end of the straight, and an advantage into the braking zone. But brilliant. As always, your insights are invaluable, and I find myself agreeing with you on more or less everything. Thank you very much for organising this league. It has been absolutely breathtaking, quite literally for me, to watch and to witness, and I can't wait till the next time we're out in Project Cars 2 again.
Yeah, I think there will be GT3 in a very, very short while.
Yep.
The signups will open for that, so hope to see some good racing there as well. It's always great for the GT3s. It's a classic, and you can never go wrong with it, basically. So
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, this season has been just great. I think the main problem with this car has been, because it's so slow. You can the braking zones are so short.
Mhm.
So there's not really been many opportunities for overtaking, and if you were to overtake, it would be sort of a risk because, first of all, the car isn't really stable. You want to always keep the throttle on, obviously because it's front wheel drive.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, just generally, no matter what track you put this on, it's just there's not really gonna be much braking in the car because it's so slow. So and I think that's probably been the main downside of this car. But I mean, all in all, it's been great. The racing's been close, like we wanted it to. So I can't complain.
No, absolutely. Yeah, as always, been a pleasure. And I will chat to you probably very soon. Have a lovely evening.
You too.
And last but by no means least, into the box we will bring King Kodiak. So, what happened to that? You're not racing tonight.
Well, funny story. No, basically, my wife is out tonight having a birthday treat, and I was putting my children to bed for the first race, so I knew I wasn't going to make it for that. And I was anticipating basically my children just kicking off and being a nightmare. So I thought it was safer for me to announce early that I wasn't going to be there, and then I watched the stream of the first race and thought, really want to be there. And my children settled down. So I was like, right, fine, I'm coming.
Brilliant.
So with 5 minutes of the race to go, I was like sprinting downstairs, get the rig set up, get the VR on, blah, blah, blah. And
man.
on zero practice as well, and on pretty knocked confidence from what happened last week at Rouen, I was thinking, it's this will spell out whether I race again. And I'm really glad I did, despite my finishing position. I had so much fun.
Okay, right. Talk me through your race then.
So started towards the back, of course, because I wasn't in the first race. Gained 7 positions by the end of sector 1, which is where that cut through bit is.
Yep.
And then just hit my lines and hoped that I was getting the right braking points. I didn't commit to some moves early on, some defensive or offensive moves, because I wasn't confident on the braking zone.
Yep.
But then when I started to get the hang of that, I was then just doing my own thing, had some really absolutely stonking battles with quite a few people. Pitted, and then unfortunately I tangled up with Tom Nell twice. That was very unfortunate. First time was Marauder was right ahead of us. He was recovering, and I was in the middle of a 3-wide. That was just unlucky. But I thought maybe I should have backed out of that, so I waited for Tom on both occasions. Second time, he'd gone a bit deep into turn 1. I tried to sneak through on the inside, which I'd done to other people on earlier in the race.
Yeah.
And sadly, he then turned into me. So again, bit 50-50. He turned into me, but I could have easily backed out of it. So again, I waited for him. But even still, that was so much fun.
Oh, absolutely. No, it was brilliant. It was a fantastic race from start to finish to watch as well. There were battles up and down the field, and there were absolutely no. I'm basically run out of words for. I've not had to talk that quickly for quite a while.
I did think at one point, because I actually had after my pit stop, I had Martin and TBW come after me, who come past me, who hadn't stopped.
Yeah,
they were a lap ahead of me, so I of course let them through, but I was able to stay with them. And there were a couple of times I actually wanted to pass TBW. I thought, no, that's pointless, because they will, they're either that much faster than me or they will pit very soon. So I just stuck behind them.
Yeah.
So that was great fun. I could see that because I was staying in their draft, I was actually catching, I think it was Mr. Ferret, who was in 13th. And then suddenly I had company behind me. I thought, oh, this is going to be amusing. and then it dawned on me. I was like, my goodness, this must be great fun for Ike to commentate on, because, we've got, first and second in between 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Oh, don't worry. It was it was a headache. It really was. I
can imagine.
Not knowing where to look as well. Do you know what I could have done with you in the gun box? Just looking at other people around the track again, because it was mad. I think I count the most passes that I saw, especially from the lead battle in that first race. It was something around 8 or 9.
Wow.
Place changes. In the space of basically 2 straights. It was insane. It was I did wonder whether this race was going to be any good. When I saw the calendar before the season started, I was like, Monza short, really? But wow, what a race it turned out to be. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm totally with you on that. When you think, oh, Clios, you don't really think big, long, open straights, do you? But
no, no, certainly not.
As it turns out, we're all wrong.
Yeah, what do any of us know?
Yeah, Daytona next then, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let's go do the trial.
Yeah, why not? Let's have drag strips. Let's do it. When I was in chat, actually, watching the first race, Jess asked if I was going to be in the next filler series, and I said no, mainly on the fact of lack of confidence. But well, if it doesn't clash with anything else, then I might revisit that thought.
Yeah, I was going to say, the problem is with casting is that it makes you want to drive, doesn't it?
Oh yes.
It just you're watching these silly little cars that you'd never own by choice. Let me get this very straight. I do not like Clios. I don't like the way they look. I don't like the way they handle. Blah blah blah. The list is endless. But watching this Watching this league has made me want to drive Clios, and it's just like, oh, damn it. Yeah, so I'm going to have to step back from casting so much and start driving more.
Well, please do. I might do the commentary next time around.
Oh, good grief, and then you'll watch me and critique my lines, and god damn it.
Revenge. No, not at all.
No,
I'm sure you'll be fine.
No, it'll be fine. There you go. Yeah, so if I'm not casting, then you'll be casting, and if you're driving, then I guess we'll just have to see you next time
Figure it out from there.
We'll figure it out from there, absolutely. I'm so glad that you joined in that second race. You being stuck in the middle of that lead battle was a very opportune place to get some screen time.
I had a great ringside seat for that.
I bet.
So much fun.
Excellent. Anyway, I'll catch you next time out. Hopefully I'll be racing you next time.
Look forward to it.
Brilliant. Catch you in a bit, man. So, we will finish the stream out there. It's always an absolute pleasure to speak to King. He is a massively infectious character, and his charm and his joy is, well, it's abundant. It really is. As is our passion for sim racing here at Apex Online Racing. We really do enjoy driving and racing all sorts and classes of cars. If you've enjoyed this Clio Cup that we've brought you, be sure to go and get signed up in the link in the video description to the forums and have a peruse of the other leagues that we've got going on there. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you enjoyed this Clio series, get signed up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well, so that you get notified of other live coverage coming from the Apex Online Racing YouTube channel. I have been Ike Sky. It has been an absolute pleasure commentating this ridiculous series for you. And until we meet again, I will bid you all adieu. I hope you have a lovely evening, and good night.